Hello there, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Myriad Paths podcast. How are you doing today, Rui?
I'm doing good. It's quite still cold here in Japan.
Okay.
Thing is, though, I think it was spring weather a couple days ago. But then it went back down to frigid cold. And I think, well, I'm not in Tokyo, but the news are saying that it was snowing in Tokyo, even though again, a couple days ago it was like spring weather. So there you go.
Oh, okay. You're still having that snowfall you had last week?
No, we don't really have any more snowfall here, luckily. But the weather is it's so unpredictable. How about you, man? How's Montreal? How's stuff?
Well, pretty similar actually.
Mm-hmm.
You know how last time when we talked, I also mentioned that like we had record heavy snowfall since in like close to like a century or something.
Wow.
And then it was warm. It got warmer.
Mm-hmm.
I think at one point it even rained.
Mm-hmm.
And then we had snowfall again, like for the past 2 days.
Well, I mean, right now the weather is like a video game weather, it's just changing,
For
on a whim.
sure.
So,
I feel like we kind of missed out on like that experience of like the normal weather pattern, It's supposed to be spring now. It's supposed to be spring and winter's not supposed to come back, but it did.
Well, it came back, right?
Yep. Yeah, well, it is what it is. Probably it's
Truly.
going to be cold until April. We'll see.
Alrighty, Ray. So, for the second episode, what do we have in store for our audience today?
Okay. So for this episode, we're going to talk about one of the core parts of living abroad, and that is picking up languages. So,
truly.
Yeah, I don't think we really touched upon this, but well, with our experiences living abroad, we eventually ended up picking up several languages. And
For sure.
yeah, I feel like it's something that's worth talking about. Like, how do we learn about them? Like I guess like the role of learning languages in our day-to-day lives, and probably their impact in like our life as a whole, Like, how did it affect us growing up? Like, it's gonna be fun stuff to talk about.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think there's a lot of, things to dig into. So yeah, I'm excited to talk about it.
Yeah, for sure.
So yeah, I guess for the both of us, since we went to the same school, I think, English is our second language.
Right.
Right? So
Correct.
I'm curious about your, I guess, English learning journey. Like, I wonder if it's different than mine. I'm assuming it's gonna be quite different than mine.
Yeah.
But maybe there are some like similarities along the way. So, how did you learn? Who was your, I guess, who made you learn English?
Well, I'm pretty sure this is a story that is shared by a lot of people. So I started learning English because my parents put me in like an English cram school.
Right.
I started learning pretty young, so I think I was around 3 or 4 years old when they put me in the school. Like,
wow, okay.
Yeah.
That's quite early.
Yeah, right. It's very early. And funnily enough, like the reason why they put me there was because I couldn't really take naps. Like,
oh, really?
Yeah, they didn't really know what to do. Like, this kid wouldn't sleep, so they just put me in like a English cram school. And like in hindsight, like I am definitely grateful for that decision. Like, I'm really grateful that they did that, because now it's opened up a lot of doors. Like, honestly.
Of course. Interesting. And so, like, do your parents speak English, or like? Were they influenced themselves by English, or was it just literally, you couldn't take a nap when you were a kid?
Well, I wouldn't say like it's. I don't think it's just a nap. Like, I don't know. I don't know what went on in their head at that time. But well, no, they don't speak any English. Like, even until today, like, my mom don't speak English at all. Well, she speaks a little, but. It's broken, it's broken English.
Right.
So it's just in the household. It's just me and my sister. who speaks English.
Okay.
And I think my grandma too, but she didn't really pass it down to my mom. Well, but that's a different story.
Okay. Interesting. Yeah, because that's actually quite similar to mine.
Okay.
My parents, well, my mother, she does not speak English, and my dad, well, for business, no, he needs to speak English,
right?
But it's not like actor level English. It's just like he wouldn't be able to go out there, live alone in Los Angeles like I did.
Oh, okay.
And it's more like for business purposes, he's able to speak it, but again, it's mostly broken. So it's quite interesting. And honestly, my side of the story is quite, it's quite similar. Like my parents, mostly my mom, she put me she made me go to an English cram school.
Okay.
Not as young as you were though. I think I was probably elementary school when I first started.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and yeah, I guess from that aspect, it's quite similar. We both went to English cram schools, and our parents made us go, really.
Yeah. We didn't really have much say. I don't know, I'm assuming you didn't.
Yeah, I didn't. Well, I was a kid.
Right, we were kids. Yep.
Yeah. But yeah, so that's one aspect, right? So I guess our parents were the ones who introduced us to the world of English. But I think outside of that as well, the cram school is obviously very important. But, in our school, in elementary school, not sure about kindergarten, but elementary school, English was actually part of the school curriculum, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. It is.
I felt like that, that actually had quite an important role in our English learning journey as well. Because, at least in my cram school, I didn't go every single day.
Okay.
I was probably like maybe twice or 3 times a week, and for like an hour or some change. So I wasn't particularly touching English on a daily basis, right? Because when I would go home, I would speak in my mother tongue.
Right.
But I think with the help of our school curriculum, the fact that they actually have like English lessons there helped a lot. Don't you think so?
Oh, okay. For me, it was quite different. Honestly, like I'm a bit surprised when you said that like the school curriculum was an integral part for your English development.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. Because for me, it's more like the things that I learned at school. It was like something that I have learned previously in the cram school. Like,
fair enough.
I don't exactly remember like how often I went to cram school. It was probably 3 to 4 times a week, around that ballpark. But then like with school curriculum, like the thing is with school English classes, the only thing I remember is that like, oh, I learned this before. I just breezed through it usually. So like it didn't really leave a lot of impact. Not
interesting. Okay.
Right. Not saying that it's bad, but it's just that like it's good. Like it's good. It's providing like the basics. Like looking in hindsight, like they're teaching like the basic grammar and things like that. And there's a lot of practice of like listening and also speaking. Sure. So it was good. It was a good curriculum. But for me personally, like it wasn't really like a huge part of my English development.
Interesting.
Like, in fact, when it comes to school, I would say like me speaking English with like some friends who came from international elementary school, that helped my English develop more.
Fair enough. Okay, interesting. Yeah, I guess that. Yeah, now that you mention it, the school curriculum was quite easy. It wasn't like, oh my god, I'm learning this for the first time.
No, yeah, it's exactly like that.
Yeah, but I think for me, it was a little bit more like it became more of a habit. Like I was expecting. I learned to expect that speaking English was quite a common thing when I was a kid. So I think that sort of I guess developed my mindset to be able to like switch, from such a young age.
So like switch languages with our mother tongue.
Yeah, between my mother tongue and English and stuff like that.
Okay.
Whereas, instead of just learning grammar and basic stuff, it's more about just like, I guess, exposing myself to English, which I think personally that was the important part of the the important part the school curriculum played in my English learning journey.
Oh, okay. So it's not necessarily like the curriculum, but more like it's an opportunity for you to engage with the language.
Yes, exactly. The fact that they have it in the system, I think just helped that, oh man, I can, it just helped me touch the language more, I guess.
Ah, okay. That's true. I never thought about it that way. Because, like, for me, I think, like, we'll probably talk about this later. But, like, I touched upon like, English almost on a daily basis, really. I think, like, back then, like, even when we had, like, gaming consoles and the such, like, almost everything was in English. And I think... You know what? I don't know whether that's a deliberate choice from my parents. Because there was one time, like, this is just like a small side story, but there was one time where I pronounced, like, I think, like, my cousins were playing, like, Final Fantasy. And then, like, I remember, like, I mentioned it in, like, I mentioned it not in an English pronunciation, but in, like, it's more like Indonesian pronunciation, right? So it's like, 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 I pronounced it in a quote unquote improper way, and then my mom was like, no, you don't say it that way. Okay, if you don't say it properly, like, you're not gonna you grounded, you're not gonna get to play. It's like, oh, okay. Like, and it's stuck. Like, it's stuck. Now it's like a fond memory for me, And
interesting.
I think, like, I don't really know. Maybe it was a choice made by my parents.
Okay.
No way.
Deliberate choice.
Yeah.
To basically force feed you English.
Right. And I didn't even realize it. I was just, like, enjoying it, I was playing games. I was just, like, watching movies and all that stuff. So it came very naturally to me that I didn't realize how big of a role the classes played, like the school classes played in my development.
Okay, interesting. All right. Well, I guess that's a bit about the school part, right? But let's go. I'm curious because which cram school did you go to when you were a kid? I wonder if it's the same as mine.
Okay, so I went to several schools. First time when I first started, it's a school called Montessori. I don't even know if I'm pronouncing it right, honestly.
Fair enough. Yeah.
I'm probably butchering it, but in that school, I remember, like, we were taught how to read phonetics.
Okay.
So instead of teaching us, like, the letters and saying, like, it's A, B, C, D, E, they're teaching us, okay, so A is A, so, like, A for apple. So B is, like, B for B, and C is, like, K for car. So they're teaching us the letters as they are pronounced in words.
Okay.
And,
like, the sounds they make.
Exactly, like the sounds that they make instead of, like, how you would mention them per se. And I think this really helped a lot with me being able to pronounce things better, or like picking up words more easily.
Interesting.
Yeah, and it's something that I didn't really realize until, like, like, people started asking me, like, hey, like, how did you speak English that well? Like, you're not from around here, like, but how did you speak so well? And that's when it got me thinking, like, okay, like, what was it that made me, like, what could it possibly be? And then probably it's like this thing, learning phonetics. Probably phonetics, that's probably one of the reasons. But anyway, so Montessori was the first cram school I went to. I don't really remember what they taught us there, but phonetics is one of them. I don't remember, like, the advanced levels, what they taught. So for the second cram school, I went to Kumon. Like, I'm pretty sure, like, when people hear of Kumon, like, they would think about, like, math classes and all that. And to be fair, like, I also did that, but I focused more on, like, Kumon English. So, like, the English part, that's the part where I did it, I finished it, and in Kumon, it's less about it focuses less on speaking, and it's more about critical thinking, like, analysis, things like that, because they're just bombarding us, like, with these various pieces of literature. So at one point, we even read like The Hobbit. Like
really?
Yeah,
in
like
Kumon.
we got
wow.
Exactly. Yeah, we got like snippets of like The Hobbit. Like
Damn.
this was like way before the movie came out. So it was like, I mean, like not Lord of the Rings, but this is way before like the Hobbit's movie came out. So like that time, like I got a snippet of it. You know, like I was reading about how like Bilbo was like really happy in like his Hobbit hole, and then like how Gandalf came with all his smoke rings and all that stuff. So that was
good old Gandalf.
So that was like my first exposure to like well, not Lord of the Rings, but that's my first exposure to the Hobbits. And
Middle Earth, basically. Yeah.
Right. Middle Earth. Exactly. Yeah. My exposure to Middle Earth, and we also read like a bunch of classics as well. Like I don't remember exactly what, but one of them was The Great Expectations, I think.
Wow.
Or, wait, Aldous Huxley. Yeah, that one.
I don't even know what that. I don't even know what that is. Yeah.
Okay, but there was one. That one. I don't know if I got the title wrong, but just in case. It's about like how humans are finally genetically modified, and now they are genetically modified to fill like their castes, basically. So some humans are made to be they're purposefully made to be like dumb if they're like gonna be menial workers, and then there are those who are made to be like purposefully smart, and like everything is just like genetically controlled and all that. It's sort of dystopian.
Okay.
Yeah, but yeah, that's a side note. I didn't really understand it was like dystopian until recently. I was like, oh, wait, okay, so that's what it's actually about. So yeah.
Wow. And you had to do that when you were basically in what, high school, middle school?
That one, it was... Okay, so it was like from this... Wait, when did I start it? I think it was like sometime around elementary school when I started. And then I eventually finished it at around middle school. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. It's not light reading for sure.
No, it's not light reading. Like, and the questions that they're asking is like basically, I don't know if like they have like probably like something like out of AP literature or something, you know, like explain like your reasoning behind this, and that. And to be fair, like I didn't do everything like on my own. Like sometimes I would just like ask the teacher like, hey, like how do I start with this? And like I would ask for like some tips, or like sometimes like, I don't know, can you just show the key answer? Things like that. Like I was pretty lazy, like not gonna lie. But
yeah, I mean,
yeah. Like right, I was like still in middle school, you know, like I didn't really know how to do that stuff.
Yeah, it's not middle school material, you know. Doesn't sound like it anyway.
Nah, yeah. At least like around the endgame stuff, like they're not really middle school stuff.
Wow.
And well, yeah.
Interesting. All right, so that's
yeah. So that's Kumon. And then there's actually another one. This is the last one. This center is called EEC, and I'm not sure how big it is. I think because I haven't really found any other like establishments with the same name. Like so I don't know if it's like a chain, you know. Like EF or something, but like I don't know if it's like a chain like EF or Kumon, but EEC was like a place that happens to be near my home at that time, and they had like native English speakers as teachers. I don't remember where most of them came from. I think one of them came from the UK, probably.
Okay.
Two of them probably came from the US, but I don't remember. I don't think I even bothered to ask them where they came from, but yeah, but yeah, I think EEC also helped with like exposure with like English native speakers, at least like in real life. Yeah.
Okay. Interesting.
So yeah.
So for you went to 3 different schools essentially. Wow.
In total, yeah.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah, because in my case, you know, funny you mentioned EF because that's where I went to.
Okay.
And I only ever went to EF for my cram school. You know, EF stands for English First. And yeah, you know, I started, you know, when I was like elementary school, and I went all the way until like end of middle school. So quite some, you know, long patronage done there, you know.
Okay.
Yeah. And yeah, in EF, I think it was. I don't think I ever did anything like you did at Kumon. Those difficult literature and stuff like that. It was more grammar, basic stuff, a lot of games. It was a lot of fun. I think EF's sort of like motto was to make English fun. Okay. So as a kid, I definitely had my attention somewhere else instead of the lesson. Yeah. But I think they were able to, I guess, make those, them grammars, them basic stuffs, quite interesting. They made it into like game forms. And yeah, well, at least personally for me, when I was in EF, it was mostly just learning the basics and grammar and stuff like that. And there were no advanced like reading. There were no advanced writing. There were obviously there were writings, and we needed to write and we needed to read some stuff, but it wasn't completely off the rails, crazy, difficult.
Right. Not like classic literature, deep analysis type thing.
Yeah. So I guess to put it into perspective, I guess EF sort of just helped me build my foundation, and they sort of let me do whatever I want. After I built the foundation.
Okay. And like if I remember, like you also have like native speakers as teachers there, right?
Yeah. So I had native speakers as well. From multiple countries, obviously, and did they help in terms of like understanding accents and stuff like that? Sure. I guess I was exposed to different types of accents when I was quite young. So whenever I hear one, I don't get surprised. I can understand them easily.
Yeah.
But I guess in a way that also helped me sort of like my natural accent is a bit more of a mixed accent. It's not completely straight American. It's not completely straight British. Whatever.
Right.
It's what I learned, what I heard from when I was a kid, and I just use them. That's just came naturally for me. So I guess in a way, that's what EF did to me.
Okay. So so I think with your case then, like a lot of the exposure will come from the outside, right?
Yes.
Like, EF provide you like the foundation, the groundwork, and then like I don't know what, like books, games, movies.
And so like I said, EF gave me the foundations, and so when I started building outside of the foundation, it was because it was using movies and games, mostly movies. When I was playing games, when I was a kid, I played mostly like sports games and like arcade games with no deep story. So I didn't. It was just more for fun, right?
Right.
But movies and books were, novels especially, were the ones that really played a major role. I mentioned a couple episodes ago, Lord of the Rings. My God, Lord of the Rings, it just inspired me so much. Not only from the dialogues, the story, but everything, and it helped me listen to, understand their English as well. So,
right.
Movies definitely played a huge role, especially in, because obviously, you can build your foundation, right? But then how do you build your pronunciation? How do you build your comprehension? And I think, movies and when you're in a movie, there are multiple accents that go around, right? So I think that helped me sort of phonetically, I guess, pick up English and nail pronunciation. And movies really helped me with that.
Okay.
Yeah. And I guess speaking about pronunciation, how did you pick up pronunciation? Like, how did you learn it? Like, obviously you learned phonetically, but outside of them schools, like, did you have like any other influence?
I'd say like games would be a big one. So like movies for sure, but I wasn't really like a huge movie guy, or like there wasn't really like a single movie that I wait. Like, see, because for you, like Lord of the Rings is like the catalyst for like a lot of things. Like for you, like choosing, like it was like your education, and now like also learning English as well. For me, okay, to be fair, I did watch quite a lot of Spongebob back in the days. So right.
Classic.
Yeah. So like cartoons like SpongeBob, and then I think at one point there was also Kung Fu Panda. So a lot of like the classics. Yeah, like probably like a lot of like the classics by Pixar, DreamWorks. A lot of those cartoons. Cartoon Network.
So animations, really.
Yeah, animations basically. Like I was more into animations, and then like my dad also watched a lot of like HBO, and then like that's also where I picked up like some more natural accents.
Okay.
And for games, I played. So with games, it's like you said, like there isn't a lot of dialogue.
Right.
So
especially like early 2000s, early 2010s.
So there's not a lot of like at least like not verbal, sorry, but there's not a lot of like auditory like input, at least from video games.
Right.
Although like I think I kind of took this for granted until like I started learning other languages, or like using games to learn other languages. Like things like navigating the menu, or like understanding how to read like instructions and everything. Like
okay.
Right, so those things helped a lot. Like it helped me a lot, like learning like the more difficult words, or like words that don't come up a lot. So like words in games like settings, options, general, or like I don't know, resolution, things like that. Like a lot of like a bunch of these more technical words. So I think like I got an exposure to like using words in a more technical setting in something that I like.
Okay.
Like I didn't really pay attention to it much. I mean, like it's not until like when I started switching, like when I first picked up Japanese, and then I tried using my phone in Japanese because immersion and all that. And then that's when I realized that I took English for granted, and that must have been how I learned back in the day as well. Like I was just playing games, navigating through the menu. Like the menu in Pokemon, they have like Pokemon bag, settings, all that thing. And then it's just like slowly picking up. And mind you, like I think back then, there must have been a lot of words that I didn't understand. And I just picked it up naturally. And, naturally as in like gradually, it's just like through exposure, I start to pick it up. And
Interesting. Yeah, because in my case, it's more of like, instead of like just not passively consume it, obviously I actively consume it as well, the media and stuff like that. But for me, I tend to I shadowed a lot. I remember I shadowed them, Lord of the Rings dialogues, them Harry Potter dialogues, and that's I guess sort of like how I get the natural flow of the language. Like I like to shadow. I like to repeat, basically mimic what they say.
Okay.
From there, I just I do my own thing. So like Gandalf's lines, whatever. You shall not pass. I would say it over and over again. Those kind of things. I would shadow them for hours when I was a kid. I remember that.
Oh, okay.
And that picked up to. So that's with the I guess movies, right? But when it comes to novels, them shadowing exercises sort of like made me, when I was reading like novels, be able to read them. What do you call it? It's like being a narrator. So when I was reading novels, I would read them out loud instead of just like reading them in my head.
Like mock audiobook recording.
Exactly, like an audiobook. Like I would give Gandalf, I would give Harry Potter, my own take on how they would say the line. I think there's a meme, right? Dumbledore said calmly during the fire. Then I tried saying it calmly, as if, like what's written. But then during the movies, I would shadow it the way Michael Gambon did his line, not calm. So,
right.
For me, that's how I approach the pop culture and media. It's a bit of a different approach, I guess.
It's I would say like it's both. So true, with the video game it's more like passive exposure, and then like to the more engaging parts of it, like so like the games that I played back then, so Pokemon didn't have a lot of dialogue, but
it was just reading.
Exactly right, it's just reading. It's just mostly like enriching like our vocabulary through all like this weird Pokemon names that, like, Pokemon names I think is like fantastic. No, sorry, not Pokemon names, but the moves, Pokemon moves. I think like it's a fantastic way to learn, because like the words, like, you know, like even like the Pokemon types, you know, like ghost, ice, fighting, and all that, and then like I don't know, like it's a fun way to get yourself exposed to like certain words, and now like you have like a more imaginative version of the word inside you, instead of like just the quote unquote normal word, you know, like when you heard the word fighting, you know, like it becomes slightly different when you see it as a Pokemon type. And but yeah, that's like a side note on like Pokemon. As for like you know, like shadowing, like I think like shadowing was also like a huge part of my learning journey. Like with, I think like I definitely copied a lot of, oh crap, I just remembered. Okay. Transformers, like Michael Bay Transformers, the first movie. Like
classic.
Oh, I love that one a lot. Like I think like, I know it's kind of cringe now, but like I used to try and follow like how one of them would speak, you know, like I think it was like Barricade, like the police car. Like wait, did you watch Transformers?
Is it Shia LaBeouf?
Yeah, the Shia LaBeouf, Megan Fox.
Yeah, of course, classic.
Okay, right. So like, I'm pretty sure like I tried to copy like some of them, like their accents and all that. So I did that with Transformers. I did that probably with SpongeBob. Like, there was like this one episode. It was like introducing like the Krusty Krab or something like that, and then like there's like a narrator going through it, and then there was like one part they went like, sounds like a lot of hoopla, isn't it? Hoopla! You know, like, have you seen that one? Have you seen that part?
Well, right. If I see it, I'll remember it. But,
okay, yeah. but like, see, like, I still remember that. Like, I shadowed that one a lot. Like, I was just like, sounds like a lot of hoopla. And I just keep on doing it so many times, you know? And then I eventually started to pick it up. Like, there's like, a lot.
It's like, you know, a few years later, something like that.
Right.
It's like those things that you pick up, you just shadow them. It's just, and then it becomes part of your language as well, which is just
it does.
I guess the effects of pop culture and how actually important it can be, right?
And it's fun, you know. Like 100%. It's not like I was having a hard time. Like, oh my god, like, why do I have to do this? It's like I want to do it repeatedly, and like oh my god, like I'm pretty sure like. It's kind of odd, like how I don't remember them now. Like I don't remember them until we start talking about it, and then I start to recall it. And it's like, oh wait, no, I actually did that. You know?
Yeah, and you know, it's again, you know, pop culture. They have such a big influence in our, I guess, you know, language learning journey.
It does. Agreed.
And you know, I think there's one line in Lord of the Rings that Gandalf said, literally in the beginning of the film. I think Frodo, he was waiting for Gandalf, right? I don't know if you remember the scene, but he said to Gandalf, like, "You're late, Gandalf." And then what? Gandalf's line was one of the best lines ever. He said, "I might misquote them, so disclaimer," but he said something along the lines of, "A wizard is never late, nor is he early. He arrives precisely when he means to." And then he started laughing.
Oh, okay.
So that's such a good line. So I always, well, let's say when I'm a bit late, right, to a friend's meeting, I would, you know, I would pull up that line, and of course they would look at me like an idiot, but you know. Anyway.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure like I repeated a bunch of embarrassing stuff to other people. So you know. Yeah. But you know, kids, right? Like we did a lot of bunch of dumb stuff.
Of course.
I don't know. I kind of cringe looking back at it, but I'm glad at the same time. It brought me to where I am today. So, you know.
I agree. All right, so, you know, we talked a little bit about how sort of pop culture and the cram schools help shape ourselves and our identity as adults.
Yep.
So, tying it back together with the language itself, right? Like, do you think that the language that you speak now helped, you know, create who you are as a person? Or how do you feel about them languages?
Well, So if we look back at like how a language was, or like how English was like in my childhood, like for me, like it was a core part of my identity that like, oh, like I'm capable of like speaking English, capable of like learning like another language. And it's, well, at times like it's a finicky relationship. Like sometimes like I would pride myself as like someone who's like, yeah, I'm pretty good at languages. And like,
okay.
And that's, well, it's neither good nor bad. Like it is what it is. Although like I'm starting to try and get more in touch with like my native tongue. So the thing is, like, because English was quite a significant part of my of my childhood and like adolescence, I didn't really feel like, okay, so like my native tongue, so Indonesian, like I didn't really feel like I was particularly good at it, or at least like I didn't really speak it as much. Even back then, like almost all social media content that I consumed was like YouTube, you know? So YouTube back in the day, so it was like a lot of like those Gmod animations, like, and then like some people making like some cartoon animations, like animation YouTubers. I don't know if you're familiar with that, but so like English was like more of a core identity for me growing up.
Okay.
And yeah, like, well, I saw it as like a point of like, you know, like, because like people keep on saying like, oh wow, you're so good with English, and it's like, I guess eventually like that became like, it became like a core identity for me. But then as I grow up, you know, like I'm starting to wonder about like, okay, who am I really? Like like exactly, like, you know, like without English, like, okay, who am I? And then because like I see like my friends, like, you know, even when I went to Japan, like I see my other friends, my other Indonesian friends, and I felt like I couldn't really connect well with, or like there's like something that felt missing. I don't know, I don't know like how they would see me, but like from my perspective, like I felt like, I don't know, like I couldn't really speak Indonesian that well, or maybe it's not that like I could, but English just felt more intimate, or like more true to who I was.
Right. Interesting.
So yeah, that's kind of my relationship, like, but these days I'm kind of glad that I can speak both. So these days this is where like I'm very thankful for like the Indonesian friends that I've made throughout like my undergrad, and like even now, like when I'm in Canada, like I still have like Indonesian friends and all that.
Right.
And I'm grateful for that, because I have there's like more motivation or incentive for me to learn more Indonesian, like just learn Indonesian Indonesian culture. And now with like Instagram and all that, like it's there are memes, like Indonesian memes, which has different nuance compared to English memes, and it's opening up like a whole different flavor of humor, and that makes me happy that I can speak Indonesian.
Interesting.
Yeah, well, that's, yeah, so like now, like for my identity, like, well, I could say like I'm a bit more detached from them, thankfully. So like, yeah, just accept that like, yeah, I can speak Indonesian, I can speak English, I can speak well, Japanese to a certain extent. Like it's pretty good, I can converse, but you know, like English and Indonesian are definitely still my top two. So yeah, that's how it is for me.
Interesting.
So what about so what about you? Like, do you think about this type of stuff, like you know, like your identity with languages and things like that?
Yeah, you know, it's quite an interesting question to try to answer, because for me personally, I never felt like attached to a language, as in like, you know, I am this person when I speak this language, or I am this person when I speak another language. For me, I see a language as more of a tool to like access the culture and stuff like that and understand the people. And so it's like I find that languages because I could speak, multiple languages, it just feels that I can be a bit more flexible and adapt to any situation.
Okay.
So let's say that I'm speaking to a Japanese person, then I can sort of like act like a Japanese person.
Okay.
Because I can understand the language in a deeper way, right?
Mm-hmm.
Whereas, let's say I'm speaking with an American, then I can speak like as if I was an American. Same with, well, I guess Indonesian to some extent, because my Indonesian is rusty.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
It's really, really rusty. But when I speak them, it's like, I might just like sound like a guy that's been abroad for a little bit too long or something like that.
Okay.
So for me, I never felt like, oh man, am I like, how do I say this? Like, not an identity crisis, but more like,
well, yeah.
For me, it's always been like, they are tools, like those with them languages, it helped me build each identity with associated to the language. So in my head, I guess it's like a switch, A, B, C, D, whatever. And let's say in a situation that needs a B switch, then I just switch it to B. If it's a C switch, I switch it to C.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's more like, the Pokemon, Metamon.
Ditto. In English it's
Ditto. Yeah, Ditto. It's kind of like him. It's like depending on I guess I'm not copying them per se, but I can adapt to any Pokemon, I guess.
Right.
To any situation.
Oh, okay. It's really interesting. Yeah. Like it's very, well, it's a very different. Well, different in a way that's like for you it's more utilitarian. Like it's not tied to like any sense of being or sense of self.
Right. It's kind of like, I like to imagine it like, I'm a blank canvas, and depending on the language that I need or the culture that I'm in, then the color, that's the paint, and then you just draw on a blank canvas, right? But then I can have I have a reset button. So let's say I need to speak with an American from a Japanese person, then I just reset and it's completely, becomes a blank space again. And then I redraw it. At least that's how I sort of like imagine it in my head. Okay.
I feel like
so instead of like a bunch of colors mixed into one, it's more like I'm always a blank space.
Okay. Because like if we're taking like that canvas analogy, then like for me, I think like I'm starting with like a blotch of mixed paint, and like I'm trying to separate them one by one.
So like, I see. Yeah, that's a very good analogy, actually.
Right, it's starting off a bit messy, and then like I'm like, okay, like it first started with English. Like I wanted to improve. I just wanted to improve my English, like just vocabulary, like like in terms of like vocabulary, just like verbosity, like not only like in terms of vocabulary that I know, but like the vocabulary that I use as well. So that's what I wanted to improve at first, and then like it extended to like Indonesian as well, because for me like it was like an identity crisis thing. I was like, oh my god, like what am I, and then so that's why like learning and relearning in that sense. Oh yeah, like I almost forgot, like I also taught, so I feel like then I had an experience teaching Indonesian and English to like Japanese people, and I feel like that helped a lot with like me realizing that maybe I don't really know these languages that I speak as much as I do, as much as I thought I did. Okay. Because once I try to explain certain aspects or concepts, like I don't really have names for them. Like these concepts, like when they ask me like, okay, like why is it like this? Why is it like that? And then most of the time, my answer to them would be, you know what? Let's think about this together. I also don't know how to explain that, but I am pretty sure the answer is this. Like that's most of the time that's how I would answer things. So it's like this is just like it's like a small side note. Like it's teaching languages. Like that's a very, very interesting way to like discover discover yourself, discover the language that you speak, or because like there will be definitely questions from like people that you teach, and it will be like things that you never thought about.
Interesting. Yeah, because I recently just quit, but I used to do part-time as an English tutor for Japanese speakers.
Okay.
And yeah, it was an interesting experience for sure. But yeah, for me it was obviously I tried to, because it was an English class, I tried to always speak in English. But because the students know I can speak Japanese, it's like they always sort of like revert back when they don't know.
Okay.
So I always try to how do I say this? Even let's say they ask them in Japanese, I always try to answer them in English.
Right.
And I guess in that time, yeah, it was an interesting experience teaching English, but for me it was more of a, I didn't really, how do I say this? It was a bit of a weird experience actually. It just felt like, how do I say this? It's a bit hard to explain.
Okay. We can try going. Oh, quick question though. Like when you're teaching English to Japanese students or Japanese people, is it just me, or like does your English get like, let's say, a bit more quote unquote broken? Like do you like either speak slower, or like did you speak any differently than how you would normally?
So yeah, in general I speak a bit more, I include a lot of slang in my language in general. So obviously when I speak with slang, they don't understand what I'm talking about.
For sure.
I try to speak them slowly, like, how do I say this? Like, instead of like abbreviating a lot of stuff, I try to elongate them, but not necessarily like in a broken way. It's still obviously like try to make sure that grammatically it's correct.
Oh, okay.
But of course, with slang, sometimes you ignore grammar and just go for convenience, right?
Right.
So in that case, I guess I had to like I had to revert back to the proper grammatically correct way.
Okay.
Which I found to be really annoying sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, they are.
Yeah. So I guess for me, it's not particularly that I find it becoming broken. Like originally, it's because I put a lot of slang and I ignore a lot of grammar. It might sound broken, but in fact, when I was teaching, I had to revert to like the basic stuff. So yeah, it was a bit of a different experience for me.
I see.
Yeah.
Like, okay, now maybe like making it broken is not exactly the right description, but yeah, like definitely like. Well, it's not dumbing it down, but like going back to the basics or fundamentals.
Right.
Speaking a bit more slowly.
Very, rudimentary.
Right. Making it more accessible.
Bare bones.
Yeah, more bare bones. Yeah, Because, like, so the thing about like, okay, so this is like my personal experience and like seeing Japanese people learn English, like grammar is definitely hard part for them. Because, like, in case like you guys aren't aware, like, what English and Japanese grammar are like, or like how they're different. Like, Japanese grammar has like a very different syntax or like sentence structure.
Oh yeah.
So right. So grammar wise, like it's very difficult. Like, how would you explain something? So like in English, like you start with subject, verb, and then object. Right? It's always like that. But then with Japanese, like it's subject, object, then verb. So like there's like a subject and you put a preposition in between, and then an object, and then a verb.
Yeah.
And then also with the verb, like there's a lot of cases where the verb is just like to do plus a noun. Like something suru, right? And this, like, the conversion of that to English is a bit difficult because in English, like, we don't really have that. Like, well, we have, like, okay, let me try to think of an example. So let's say acquisition and acquire, right? It's like the verb is acquire. But in Japanese, you can say it's like to do acquisition. Like, you can do it just like that. to do acquisition, to do I don't know. I can't think up of any other word, but like it happens a lot. Like in Japanese, when they try to speak English, like they just use the noun word instead of like the verb, and that happens a lot.
Makes
and
sense.
then and then like the grammar, like they don't really follow like the usual grammar structure, because it's it's difficult. Like understandably, it's difficult. It's a different language. You have to switch up, and if you're not used to it, like it feels kind of trippy. It feels like your brain is trying so hard to speak something that it is trying to do something that it's never done before.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, and I think just adding on to that as well is, in Japanese, subject tends to be omitted a lot or often.
Oh, right. Oh, that's a huge thing. Yeah.
For example, let's say, this is always the funniest thing, especially like, because, I have some international friends here as well. Let's say they're conversing with a Japanese person, and the Japanese person will always, for example, like, tabeta, and that's it.
Right.
And they don't ask them anything else.
Yeah.
But in English, if you just say, ate, huh? Like,
it doesn't
what?
It doesn't make sense.
Like, me, you, who? Like, so it doesn't make sense. But Japanese is such a high context language that from a high context perspective, it's actually really hard to go to a low context perspective where you have to make sure you explain everything for the other person to understand the context.
Oh yeah, you're right about
like,
that.
Kino tabeta? Did you eat yesterday? Like, sure. But it just felt like very. In English, it would be like, like, did dinner, lunch, what are you, anything. They need you need a context always, right?
Right. It's always like. There's always the subject. Like it's always like, did you eat, or like, did we eat? There's always like there's always that,
right?
But then with Japanese, it's just like you don't use like explanatory words. It's
exactly
more,
you don't need them,
right? We don't. We just add. It's either like what do you call that, suffixes? So like the ending of the words, you change that, and then like it changes meaning completely. And it's hard to explain why it works, but once you start to experience it, it clicks. Like I remember, like,
it does click. Yeah.
Right. There was like a point where I just like to be fair, I didn't remember having a hard time with this or like paying attention to this, but there came a point where I started like having to speak more Japanese, and then it just made sense. It just made sense that like why it's a high context language. You sort of feel it. You get the feeling that okay, I see now. Okay, I see why it works now.
Exactly. And for a lot of learners, especially like from English learners or mostly like Western languages learning Japanese, it's very hard for them to understand. Like, for example, like 私は昨日ご飯食べました.
Right.
You don't say anything like 昨日ご飯食べた.
Right.
That's for us. It's enough for Japanese speakers.
Exactly. Right. It's like,
how do I say this? Like the more you feel it, the more you understand it. It just makes more sense.
Yeah. It is. So I feel like that's kind of the hard thing. Not the hard. I don't know if it's the hard thing, but it's the beautiful thing about languages is sometimes you just gotta let it go. Like you must try. Well, just don't try to understand, because like if you try to understand a language in the context or framework of another, some things just don't compute. And
absolutely
right, this is like what we've been talking about, right? Like for me, like when I first explained about like how they use like nouns in the place of verbs, because that's how things are in Japanese. And then like with your example with how they omit certain things in their sentences, and so now it's difficult for them when they want to move to English, where you have to explicitly mention everything. Now they're confused, like, oh, I didn't have to do this in Japanese. Why is this necessary? This is so difficult. I heard that a lot.
Exactly. Yeah.
Like, why do we need to do this? Like, it's so necessary. I don't like English. It's like,
Yeah. Very, very, very true.
It's understandable, if we can see where they're coming from. Is I get what you mean. Right. So we talked quite a lot about how we started learning English and cram schools that we went to, experiences with school, well, classes at school, and movies. Right, we talk about movies, games, books, and all that. And yeah, we talked quite a lot actually about all that, and also language and as a part of our identity. But okay, so from all this, for you, Rui, what's the takeaway? Like, what's like the one thing?
Yeah, honestly, the one thing that really sort of stood out for me is, again, the importance of learning outside them classrooms and them textbooks, right? I think for both of us, we learned so much from outside them textbooks. And I think if I could say anything to those who are trying to learn or pick up a new language, textbooks can be really helpful, but try to see what's out there, I think there's so much more to offer to a language than textbooks and classroom. So read your novels, watch your news, watch your YouTube and stuff like that, and I think you'll learn much more from there. And what about you, Ray?
Well, just a little addition on like what you said. It's just find whatever you find fun. Like, and then you just roll from there, right?
Yeah,
like, I've seen people who like Japanese people who learned English from like iCarly out of all things. So like,
hey,
right,
iCarly is great, man. What am I talking about?
no, but like, well, I mean, like, okay. I'm not bashing on iCarly. My bad. Like, that was not my intention. Okay. I'm saying, like, I'm saying it in a way that, like, for me, like, it was games, and then for them, hey, they watched it from iCarly. So my bad. Hey, I'm not trying to beef with anyone. Okay. Okay.
Watch your iCarlys, folks.
Yeah, watch iCarly. iCarly is good, guys. Anyway, okay.
Yeah.
So my takeaway from this, well, you know how like for you, like it was like delving into culture to like have more immersion with the language, have more like exposure to it. For me, it's more like learning that languages do not on the flip side of it, like languages do not define who you are. So I liked your approach that like you just use language as it is, which is a tool, and you see it as that. Like, hey, it's just a tool for me to speak with more people, and that's it. And that was my journey. Like, growing up, like that's the journey of me to just start to detach myself, like unmixing the paint. Like that was like the process for me. And I think, well, hopefully I'll be able to do that with like the new languages that I'm picking up, which we'll talk about in other episodes, by the way. Look out for that one.
Yes, sir.
But yeah, so it's, well, we'll see. I'll try to, get less frustrated if I'm not like understanding like languages that I'm learning as easily. Because, like, I'm learning languages. I'm trying to learn languages through video games. But sometimes, like, even like just brushing up on my Japanese when there's a bunch of kanji it gets a bit frustrating, honestly.
Yeah. Yeah, enjoying the journey is very important. So
right. Well,
putting less pressure on yourself is very important too.
That is true. Like, So yeah, language learning, find what you enjoy most, and try not to stress out too much about it. So yeah.
Cool. Well, friends, that's actually the wrap of our episode as well. Again, I hope you find it interesting. I hope you find our stories interesting, and hopefully, in a way, we could inspire some people to find new ways on how to learn, on how to pick up a language, right?
Absolutely.
So, yes. So, that's the wrap for English, and we will see you in the next episodes.
Yep. See you guys.